going to upload this to the YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed to the Energy for Sales YouTube channel, where all of these recordings live. Catch some of the past recordings. My goodness, last month we talked about time blocking. The month before we talked about navigating objections with Justin Cook. We had Todd Bowman on talking about networking. And if you didn't catch that one, that'll take your networking to the next level. So just tune in. Again, we try to, David, we all know we get too many emails, and I don't really like to say in an email, here's the recording. So we say it here. Jump on the YouTube channel, Energy for Sales, subscribe, and all these recordings live there. And we're happy to have you. Welcome aboard. I saw some new folks register, and I just real quick, like, why are we here? David and I have been coaching in sales almost 15 years now. And we believe that if we're not having fun in sales, we're doing something wrong. Sales can and should be a lot of fun. And we believe, just like Papa John's believes, that better ingredients equals better pizza, and it's Papa John's. We say better connection, better sales. Better connection, better sales. So we really drill into, David, you're smiling, but we really drill down into sales, the philosophy of it, and really connecting better from the get-go. So, David, I'm excited for this one. What were you saying, man, as we get kicked off?
Well, I had a protein shake for lunch, so the Papa John's talk kind of got me a little hungry. Somebody's in a drive-through. Now I'm curious, because I'm always curious. You know me, like, I wonder what they're getting. Where are they driving through? So, no, good day for this topic. You know, we've coached folks forever. I coach you. You know, how do I touch people? How often do I touch them? When do I stop? All of the things that go through our mind in leading a buyer through the buyer journey. You know, Tim, I had sent you something that I had seen. I had really never seen it before, but there's the stages of our audiences, a potential buyer. You know, it starts with epiphany and goes to the awareness. Oh, there's epiphany. Oh, there's something new out there. The awareness. I might need that thing that is new, that new service, that new solution, that new relationship. So you start with epiphany, you go into an awareness, then there's a bit of discovery, and then there's decision. So those are just 4 little building blocks framework. There's a lot of things in between. So, you know, if I only touched you, Tim, twice, I'm never going to get through probably even the awareness, maybe the epiphany. You know, our emails should bring to light, they should bring value, they should bring things to light that are happening in our industry, in our world, you know, in our cities, all of those things. All right, salad from Wendy's. Still
I knew
hungry.
the salad was going to distract you. You were going down.
No,
you were waxing eloquent, and it was salad. So I love it. And by
I'm
the
okay.
way, Wendy's has a mean salad. I love the Wendy's salad.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
right on there. But yeah, David, I'm with you, man. You know, what's interesting too, I think, is we live in, you know, if you've been doing sales for any length of time, we are living in a very noisy world. Very noisy. You have marketers and automation hammering your client base, your competitor right now. And especially, again, we're kind of talking today in a lot of regards to the trifecta: mortgage bankers, real estate agents, and title folks on this call. And if you're in this industry, right, volume's slower this year, like the industry's just lower across the board in volume. Everyone's trying to get creative. I've seen some of the creativity, and it's I mean, some of it's not actually that great. But regardless of whether your competitor is great at marketing and communicating and touching, or if it's not valuable at all, that's left for really you can't even judge that. Only your customer and their customer can anoint it valuable or not. But with all that, there's so much noise, and everyone's hammering the same people. So the question, David, to your point, 1, 2, 3 touches, it's not going to cut it. And one side, it's like if you've been doing it for a long time, how you touch somebody 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, even 4, 3 years ago, it's the world's changed. So if we've not evolved the way that we reach out and touch and rethink our touches and our campaigns and our sequence, then we're behind. We're not getting through. Yep. David, we've worked with a lot of salespeople who and I've been guilty of this myself, grow cynical. I used the word, have you ever been ghosted? I asked that question in the email blast last night. But the reality is we've all been ghosted. However, ghosting and a prospect going crickets after you proposed and did everything you told them you were going to do, and they've gone crickets on you, that, if you're not careful, will breed cynicism. So I want to start today. We're going to actually start with what are the debilitators, I should say, or the distractions from creating valuable touches and valuable sequences and persevering with valuable touches. So, David, why don't we start there? Because I think no, or the silence, it's so resounding in our minds oftentimes that we just stop and give up. So there's definitely the perceived no from a prospect. There's times when somebody said no, or it's not the right time. Or you saw on Facebook they closed with your competitor. And so this cynicism can start growing here. But David, did you know, and I, as you know, teach real estate agents that some of the best time to market to a prospective client is after they just closed with your competitor. Why? Because your competitor stopped. They made a sale and they stopped. The nurture is non-existent. Did you know that 90-something% of people say they close with their real estate agent again and only 17% do? Why? Because they lost touch. They didn't keep up. I just insulated our addition. And the company I called out, David, this is so funny. The company I called out to quote, and I wasn't even going to go for anywhere else for the quote, was the company that I thought 4 years ago did the addition or the flip next door for grandma. They got out there and I was like, guys, you guys did such a great job over here on Point. And the guy literally told me, he said, we didn't do that project. And I'm sitting there going, now, the way he handled the quoting process, the way his company has a great name, like their branding, all of that stood out in my mind. But when it's all said and done, I went and dug up the $14,000 check image that I cut 4 years ago to the insulators. And sure enough, it's a totally different company. I didn't even call them. They weren't even in the mix this time. Why? I just forgot about it. Forgot about it. Sabrina, those are up-to-date stats. Yes. Go ahead, David.
I know we're going to talk about touches and, on the front end, but you're bringing a very interesting point in two cases. Number one, what is that follow-up after someone has done business with you? And what's that follow-up when someone has chosen not to do business with you anymore? Have a prime example. We've used a solution to help automate our campaigns because of acquisition and other things. We were going to have a time period where we could not move forward anymore. We're not going to renew our agreement. And I heard from them every day leading up to the renewal. And when it was finally a no 3 months ago, I've heard nothing, like nothing at all. Like I will be a buyer again at some point. So, we're going to talk about 13 touches or a multitude of touches and sequencing and how to touch with value and those types of things. But, let's all stand up and be big boys and girls when we don't gain the business today. How are we going to respond? That's a whole other area. And those that we do business with, how are you going to respond? We have to stay in front. We have to touch with value. One of the things I was thinking as we started this conversation was because we don't talk about a lot. Maybe you do, I do not, but the consistency of messaging, like the consistency of these touches. Is it within your brand? Is it within your company's brand? Or if I got something from you, Tim, in an email or a phone call, does it fly totally in the face? Is it 180 degrees? Does it confuse me? Because the brand I see, the brand I've heard, the brand I watch on TV, like it doesn't even seem the same thing. Like you talked about better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. I mean, that is consistent. I guess somebody brought this up the other day. We wish that all of our businesses were like Mexican restaurants. Have you ever seen a Mexican restaurant advertised? No, they don't have to. So how do we become like some of that?
Dude, that's strong.
But stay consistent. Stay consistent.
Yeah.
Don't confuse. Like that email doesn't make sense to the person I've been speaking with or that I've conversed with or the organization I see marketing from. So
Yeah, I can't wait to just unpack this and get deeper. But we're setting the stage here, as you can tell. Um, and the stage is this. We have a database. Oftentimes we have multiple databases on social media. We've got a CRM that's kind of languishing a bit. And then we have this big event we just did last fall and all these people that never got into the database and or into the CRM. So we've got this Excel sheet. And then, oh, we just did the CE webinar. We got that. And marketing did this campaign. They sent us something. So we have all these flags in our inbox. And we have, trust me, I've worked with dozens, hundreds of sales reps. I mean, we're all in the same boat here. This isn't a pointing a finger. I've been here. I am here. Oftentimes there's something I get sent from marketing. Like we have all these leads, right? And these different systems. So at any given time, we look at, okay, where's our pipeline? Where are the deals coming from? Who's like most likely to buy? What we have to do is zoom out, I think, a little bit, get a 50,000-foot view of what is my long-term game here. Like we're all business owners. And David, you mentioned branding. Most people on this call, small business owner, entrepreneur, you're a sales rep for a small company, or maybe a mortgage banker on here, and you're regionally located. You might not have a massive marketing, campaigns going out or marketing department fueling some of your sales activity. So you might be on your own here. But let's all zoom out from it. Number one, and instead of thinking about closing a deal right now, because there are people within your database anywhere that are ready to buy, and we should absolutely figure out how to quantify this. Next month, David and I, through this summer series of getting back to the fundamentals, we're going to talk about CRM, database, and targeting and pipeline. So if any of what I just said resonated with the whole mix of people and leads and all that, be on next month. We'll dig deeper. But for today's purposes and touching and valuable touches and building better sequences that actually work, I think we have to zoom out a bit. And instead of thinking about a valuable touch from our perspective, because what does that mean? A valuable touch, a lot of times, if we're honest with ourselves, we're looking at it from a perspective of somebody buying from me or saying yes to me. That's where a lot of times we're at. What's a valuable touch? It's one that gets a response. I would beg to differ. It's not. A valuable touch is something that your prospective client would anoint valuable. And oftentimes they are not going to tell you that right away. They're going to start picking up what you're putting down over time. David just mentioned, what if your brand is not the educator brand? You're not out there right now dripping out a consistency every month of like the latest in the industry, or tune into our channel and our attorneys here are going to break it all down. And maybe you're not doing that. Maybe you're aspiring to do that. And I've seen so many companies start and then stop because what they didn't do first, they didn't zoom out 50,000-foot view and say in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, who are we going to be and what are we going to be known for through our communication campaigns, through our touches? What are we going to create? What are we inviting people into, which is so much bigger than doing a deal with our company? Okay. And one of the best things about the real estate industry is that we know every 5 to 7 years, and I know that the whole pandemic and the whole, rates and all that has probably put a, big old cog in that wheel and all those statistics. But on average, 5 to 7 years, people need to buy, they need to upsize, they need to downsize, their relatives are moving in. You'd be shocked. I've invested now in about 5 different real estate deals and things in my life, and you'd be surprised after the deal how little I hear from anybody. And it just blows me away. Now I'm a sales coach, so I have a little bit of a bias, but I'm like, dude, I might be talking to my mom. I'm with my mom this week. I'm like, I might be talking to my mom right now about moving to Virginia. Like my real estate agent you guys see on Facebook, I'm posting about these flips and this stuff and these additions. And like, I should be like, my real estate agent should stay in front of me pretty regularly in case something changes. So we have to zoom out, number one, and get the macro view. Okay. But as we talk about valuable touches, David, why don't you just take a little bit, because you taught me a long time ago, AAV, always add value. Whenever you're sitting there saying, do I click send? Ooh, how is this going to come across? You put all the sales teams. I'll never forget 16 when you first entered my life, and I was just a sales rep. You were my coach. You sat there and said, don't ever doubt yourself or talk yourself out of a touch if it adds value. So talk about always adding value for a second and what constitutes a valuable touch.
Well, it's a broad topic. I'll give a couple examples. Again, you have to add value. If you the day you stop adding value, or the day you don't start adding value, it's very difficult to break through the clutter. As you mentioned earlier, I mean, we were getting bombarded with stuff. Um, Normally getting 3 to 5 emails from somebody who has no idea what I do or what I'm interested in, but thinking that they know that's it. For me, and in a sales approach, um, the fact that I don't know them yet, and there's a difference. I mean, there's so many different segments. If I don't know you or I know something, then I can add to that. Um, if I know a lot, I can add to that. All these are different scenarios, um, but the day we stop adding value, we're not going to get their attention. Um, Value. We talked about these in past podcasts and conversations. What's going on in the industry that they might need to be aware of? What's going on, in their city that might impact moves in or out in this industry? Something of value. Back in the day, even when the world was even more simple. I mean, you could even have a newsletter and have a recipe in there that adds value. But again, you have to know your audience. You have to. The hard work is knowing your audience, knowing what could potentially add value, and then segmenting that list into where do they come from and what do they know about us. But telling a story, understanding what they could potentially be going through, running their business, purchasing their home, running, whatever they may be doing. Talked about some key elements, being very brief. Um, I would get large, long emails from our marketing teams, and I could literally break those into 4 to 5 different value touches uh, over a period of that time of separate emails. That's the $64,000 question. Sometimes what's going to add value? It's got to be industry specific, personal specific. Depends on the how deep your understanding, where they entered your world, and what you think that potential is for them. I don't know if I answered it, Tim. I kind of talked in circles, but um, we need to be brief. It needs to be pinpointed. It needs to be about them. It needs to be about an issue or a scenario that probably is impacting them, that
So
they need to be aware of.
you said something so key. I want to go back and highlight, and then I want to bring something my brother taught me and has 10x my sales. And years ago, he taught me this, and he still teaches it to this day. Still challenges me on. And he's going to be joining later to talk about our bonus. So stick around to the end. You don't want to miss the event in October. Let me just tell you, I'm so stoked about this event. But so David, you said sometimes marketing will send something out that in your brain, and again, you have trained your brain over 35 years, I think, of coaching in many, many channels, healthcare, Microsoft channels. Like you've coached in a lot of different channels. Automotive with me for 10 years. But you've trained your brain to think like your customer and to digest like your customer. And so we've taken things like appointment and meeting out of all of our communication. It's always visit. Why? Because family likes visits. We use the word brief visit. We ask for brief visits. We ask for virtual coffees. We ask for those things that will have a good resonance instead of appointment or meeting. So we've created a list of bad words that we don't use in sales. So number one, you're listening from the perspective of your potential buyer, and you're digesting what you're writing from that perspective. So number one key, train this muscle. If you're listening right now, write this down. Train your mental muscle to craft emails or text or, social direct messages from the perspective of who you're reaching out to. You'll be amazed. I'm not saying don't be yourself. But I don't believe in being a chameleon salesperson. The old adage of you have to be a chameleon, I disagree with wholeheartedly. I believe in being your authentic self. I think there are some explosive topics to steer away from. We all know those, but don't change who you are. So I'm not saying change your messaging to, try to no, but think through their lens of what's probably going on in their world right now, what might be important to them right now, what is probably their hot button right now, what do they need, what do they desire, what do they dream of right now, and then just flip some of what you're saying to that. So David, but here's what you just said. Marketing sends out this massive email, and you could have dissected it into 5 different value touches. So what you're saying is marketing didn't mess up at all. Marketing sent out this beautiful, and oftentimes our marketing departments or marketing folks will do this. And I think that's where the sales and marketing handshake is so beautiful. And if you ever want to figure out how you articulate what you do as a sales rep, it is to make sure, write this down, you connect the dots of what your company's trying to say to the needs of the person you're calling. That is your job, to connect the dots for your prospective buyer. So to David's point, if marketing sends out a campaign and you see 5 different segments, that right there gives you 5 value touches. David, I hear this so much, and so do you. I just don't know. I feel like I've run out of stuff to say. I don't know how to touch somebody. I don't know what to say to my database right now. We're going to get into it. We're going to break down 13 ways, and we're just going to go through a litany. I'll probably end up giving you like 16 or 17, but here we're going to talk about how you reach out and touch. But we're going to give some science to it, because I believe I have a little bit of an engineering bone in my body, and I believe in constructing things that you can use over and over again for efficiency. So if you're in listening and you would like something that you could scale so you can have more conversations, create more sales, just drop yes in the comments. Just put yes, like efficiency. Put big E, efficiency. I like being efficient. I don't like wasting time. I don't like constructing an email 15 times, backspacing, hitting save, and never sending. We've all been in that boat. So what we want to do is we want to think scientifically here. I'm going to teach us all something that we'll never forget, hopefully ever, and it will really help us as we articulate and figure out. Thank you, guys. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I like that yes with a big E in the middle. It's awesome. But this will help us as we build touches and as we fill the void in our mind with a contact. It'll help us be able to scale very efficiently where we're at with somebody. But let's real quick touch back to the database and a contact. When we talk about value touches, that David's articulated what value looks like. When we think about a contact in our database, instead of thinking about do they have a deal for me? Let's think instead about where can I add value and make sure that they're coming along a journey that I've already mapped out. I already have the end in mind. I've already figured out what this campaign looks like. And whether they tune in, tune out, or I don't know yet, I'm going to be obedient to these steps that I've constructed. That's it. Because if we look at a contact as somebody that we can go build a relationship with and warm up and inform, and then eventually engage with, and then they become a paying buying customer and then a loyal customer, we understand that is a litany of steps. So the first thing we need to do is we need to let go of any form of microwave mentality. Microwave mentality meaning I want somebody to land in my lead gen system and become a paying customer, become loyal in 2 or 3 steps. It ain't going to happen. And I think, David, sometimes we see or we hear that sometimes corporations will pressure their salespeople or some sales leader. We got to get the deals. We got to get the deals. And we are sending messaging out with this pressure sort of feel to it. And sometimes as a salesperson, you need to learn how to filter. You need to learn how to say, no, I have a plan. I'm working the system. I'm working my processes. I'm on this touch and I'm working them through to here, but I'm not going to send this coercive, pressuring, oh, we're doing a sale, we're doing whatever. Like, it's amazing to me what I see come out because somebody got to the end of the month and they didn't have enough deals in the pipeline. And then the messaging just takes on this weird feel. It's not value. So let's touch back to realize a contact's value is in the depth of relationship and engagement you can build with that contact. This is about connection. Is my messaging, is what I'm saying actually getting through, and are they anointing it as value? Okay, so that's the first thing to answer. David, what would you add to that? I saw your wheels turning, but before I get into
I was going in a little bit of different direction. I was thinking one of the greatest faux pas on emails that I've received or emails that marketing has created to send out. It's a bunch of fluffery, bunch of connection. And at the very bottom is the why I'm reaching out. And Tim, you do a fantastic job of flipping that script all the way around, even with people that you know and have a relationship with. You will have the why am I reaching out? Why is this important? The why up front, and then flow through. Whereas most people, hi, my name is David. I work for blah blah blah. They already know your name. They see your company name at the bottom of your email, if not in the email address. So still, I get lost when it's I, we, me. I can see all that stuff. Why are you reaching out? And so in these 13 touches that Tim, you're gonna roll through, the why has to be prevalent up at the beginning, because if someone's thin slicing or you're looking at your preview pane, that's all I'm seeing is a line or two. And if it's somebody saying, "Hi, I'm Tim Hooper. I'm the greatest thing in the world," I'm gone. If it's
So
what's
good.
important up at the top, and you do that really well.
Yeah, first line, subject line if you can, and we'll talk about different kinds of touches here, but subject line, when you can, use their name in the subject line. Huge. You'll 10x responses just right there. Use their name in the subject line. Number two, and that's when it's a personal touch. Number two, because there is a mass touch too. You won't use a personal name in the subject line. But when it comes down to the personal, I'm going to tell you when that happens. Then you start using their name in the subject line. Number two, first line of the email, David. A lot of sales managers that I'm working with right now are facing boom. Right, hit the problem or the opportunity or their vision or their hope or their dream. Hit that first, and then start backfilling it. Do you have 30 minutes for a brief virtual coffee one morning next week? Let me know, please. Here's what I would anticipate going over on this call together. Here's my 3 bullet points. Let me know. Looking forward to hearing back from you. Very lightweight. Very lightweight. I would rather get on a Zoom and then ask questions and then share stuff when I can see how David's responding to me. So again, David, to your point, thank you. Flipping the script is so powerful. And we actually did this. It's probably, I think, November. If you scroll down on the Energy for Sales channel, we talked about with Andrew, best practices for communication with prospects. So super powerful. All right. So let's talk about this for a second. 13 touches. Here's where I find we fall down. Like Ben Franklin says, if we fail to plan, we plan to fail. And most salespeople fail to plan out what those 13 touches look like. But I find that it's because we don't have a scientific approach. We're very creative. A lot of salespeople are creative. And some of you are like, I'm not creative, Tim. And I've worked with some who said, I'm not creative. I think we're more creative than the rest of the world. Let me put it that way. A lot of times. And we can get very creative with how we reach out and all this. And I know some of you guys, somebody told me just last week, David, they'll go to like Chat GPT. They have an idea, but they're like, man, I don't know how to be creative with this. So they'll go there and say, hey, give me 10 ideas for. And so people are using AI to kind of, spark the creativity. I think that's a great idea. But here's where I want to get the science. So when I took mass comm in college, they taught me 3 A's and they stuck with me. And when I applied them to sales, it literally blew everything up for me, because what it did was it gave me a process that I could be efficient with every time I did communication. So here's the science is 3 A's, and it's very psychological, but it's very, very easy to remember. And you can't have a sale or you can't have a long-term relationship without all 3 of these. Let me put it that way. So awareness, attitude, action. David mentioned epiphany earlier. That would be like more innovation, something, boom, I need something or something's out there. So if you're creating new products in the marketplace, you're an innovator, a tech company out there, you are creating epiphanies for people, okay? Your epiphany, if you're a service organization, we're in real estate here, your epiphany may be a different way, a faster closing. You may give somebody an epiphany that way, but that flows into awareness. So really the 3 pillars are awareness, attitude, action. So here's what that means. They have to be aware of you. Their attitude has to shift towards you, and then they take action with you. Now, the caveat there is in this industry, sometimes you get a referral or sometimes you capture business that somebody says, we're going to go over here and use this company, and you get the action. But you've never gauge their attitude towards you, and you've never really educated them on who you all are about, so the awareness is not there. And here's where we find, David, when we run reports in this industry, people get the onesies. They live in the onesies. Go run a report right now with every customer who's only ever sent you one deal, and the report will be off the charts. It'll be long. Title companies, we run these reports with them all the time. It's a very long list of real estate agents who use them one time. Why? Because somebody directed the deal there and they used them one time. And what didn't happen ever was they didn't go back. They got the deal. That was great. But the salesperson didn't follow up to go build an attitudinal shift based on the action they took. So they had to work it backwards. How's your attitude towards us? How did we do? How was it? And then also awareness, filling in the gaps of why we make a great choice going forward. Here's who we are. Here's how we're different. And not from like, this is how great we are standpoint, but here's what our clients say they love working with us for because we're different in this. So you have to, at all times, when you see a contact in your database, just look at the 3 A's. Have they ever taken action with you? If not, okay, then they might not have had an attitudinal shift toward me. And then if they haven't had an attitudinal shift, are they even aware? Okay. And then if they've done action with you, fill in the gaps. How's their attitude with me? Well, I just went out to lunch with this person. They've sent me 10 deals over the last couple of months. They're like all into us right now. That's massive. 10 off the chart attitude towards you. That's amazing. But then when you have a new product come down the pike, or a new person join, or a new system, or a new process, it's your job to keep them aware. Your competitor who does a better job at awareness will eventually get an attitudinal shift. So you always have to, even with your good clients, keep them aware of new things, innovations, things you're doing as a company. So the awareness thing never stops with good clients or with potential clients. Does this make sense? So just scientifically thinking, AAA. You have AAA, you break down the salary, call AAA. If you're broken down in your sales today, call AAA. Awareness, attitudinal action. All right. David, what would you add to that before we break down the 13? Because very scientifically, you'll find that your 13 touches fall into all these buckets. It's beautiful. Makes it very easy when you start constructing your plan. All right. So David, what would you add though? I know your wheels like to see this.
No, nothing really to add. I was soaking it in. It's not the first time I've heard that, but I like the attitudinal aspect to that. And you're right, the competitor, or hopefully yourself, who makes your awareness consistent and of the greatest impact is going to win that game for sure. Now then you have to stay consistent inside of that brand. Every iteration, every voicemail, every phone call, every LinkedIn touch, every email has to be consistent with that type of of branding that you're putting out there. So I like that.
And one thing too, to go back, if you have a marketing department that's pushing out valuable content, or pushing out campaigns that are building awareness or showcasing new things you're doing or whatever, your role as a salesperson, again, is to connect those dots. So don't fall down on, marketing has the awareness piece down. No, when I'm on the phone with somebody, or when I get a chance to talk to somebody, or I'm at a golf outing and they're there, hey, what do you think about our latest campaign? Mm-hmm. I should be always aware of what we're trying to achieve as an organization, so that I'm talking and connecting the dots. What do you mean campaign? I didn't see anything about that. You didn't see about the new technology we have to do this? Oh my goodness. I'll make sure, hey, when I get done here, I'll forward it over to you, and then let's jump on a coffee and talk about it, because I think it'll really help your business. Right? So it's always connecting the dots back to the awareness, what you're trying to do. That'll keep the attitude strong towards you. But let's break this down. Brand new prospect, or a lead in your database, somebody in your database, you've just forgotten how they landed in your database. All right. So let's zoom out real quick and look at your database just for a second, because to make AAA effective for you, I want you to think about your database in 3 prongs: hot, warm, and cold. Okay. Right now, today, if you wanted to run some communication campaigns, I would ask you, if we were coaching one-on-one, who's hot? Like who loves you? Who's into you? Like, they used you recently. They said they're going to use you again. They're hot. You would consider them a good, loyal client. Okay, that's hot. Who's warm? That means you've proposed to them in the last year. You've done something. You've done a loan application. Maybe they closed with a competitor. And that's fine. But they're warm. Like you've touched them. You've been in connection or communication with them. And a lot of people, again, they stop after the deal closes elsewhere. Big fail here, big fail, because this is one of the best times to make them aware. In fact, you could make them aware about things post-closing that your competitor won't. And in doing so, you'll create doubt in that buyer's mind that they used the wrong person. And when they do this again, they're going to use you. It's one of the most amazing times to build awareness is after they close with your competitor. All right. So with that out of the way, break down your database into hot, warm, and then cold. Cold is just, why is this person even in my database? How did they get here? We all have those people. Like we have people the federal government doesn't even know why they're in your they can't even find them. They're in your database. And I look at this as this is low-hanging fruit. This is low-hanging fruit. These are people you don't even know yet. That's the lead. We spend so much money on these like lead gen lists. I see it. All this money, we're always looking for the next best thing, and our database is right in front of us. And there's people in our database, we have no clue how they got there. So hot, warm, cold. All right. Now let's talk about AAA for all of these. Okay. Awareness. If you're building out 13 touches, if you have to have awareness, attitudinal shift, and action, then just put 4 touches in each of those buckets. 4 awareness touches, 4 attitudinal touches, and 4 action touches. What does that look like? Okay. Awareness is really the easiest because awareness is if you're in sales creating your own kind of marketing and communication, or if you have a marketing department, your job with the awareness is just to push it out, or you, if you're creating yourself, to get it out to everybody in your database, making them aware of who you are. Now, we have some strategy with awareness that I think creates better connection. Strategies like leveraging video in some of your touches. You guys see how I use video all the time. Why do we use video? Because it's 94% more effective than written text. That's not my statistic. That is like national, all demographic.
I'm going to share a story. I don't even know Paula, but she is on video so much. I feel I know her.
My colleague Paula dominating. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And never met her.
Yes. And if you needed somebody in Virginia to handle title for you, who would come to mind first, David?
Paula Kaplinger.
And your son just moved to Norfolk recently. Like if you needed him to buy, if he wanted to buy a house in Norfolk, who would you probably just loop into a conversation whether she could help you in the end game or not?
It would be her.
It'd be Paula.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
She's put herself in your inbox. All right, so thank you, Paula. If you're on, shout out to you. Now, so there's strategy with awareness to create better awareness. There's also strategy with awareness right now. You need to look right now, a good hard look. If you're dripping out to 50,000 people, MailChimp and Constant Contact is for you. But if you're dripping out to anywhere under 1,000, which most of the mortgage bankers and most of the real estate agents I work with, unless you're just mass marketing and recruiting like all get out, and you have 12,000 people in your database, which some of you do, most people have within that like 1,200 or below threshold of really good qualified contacts in your database. You really need to take a hard look at what you're using because MailChimp or Constant Contact is just not cutting it. You're only getting through about 20% of those emails. Because right now, your Gmails, your Outlooks, everything, all the AI out there, it's weeding stuff out for people. And everything you send through one of those mass mailers is landing in some promotions folder. People aren't seeing it. So some of your awareness is not even getting through. So the touch that you thought and grew cynical over somebody didn't get back to you on never even made it through to them. So you need to really take a hard look and rethink your outbound communication strategy and slow down a little bit. You can send through just a regular email, just like you got the reminder for today's call. And by the way, I've got more than 1,200 on the list, but you'll get that touch. And what I do is I just it takes me about 10 to 12 minutes now, but it's just a BCC. And we taught this, but it's a BCC of under 100 people at a time. And then just resend that multiple times throughout your day. And every big valuable awareness touch I do, I break it down, and that gets 99% through. I'll every now and then get a little bit of a kickback, and it's something's wrong, or their server just won't accept, or some link that I included flags something, but it's never because it's a mass distribution center and then it's pushing it. So those of you who are using BombBomb because you like how the BombBomb looks, I don't even use BombBomb to push out my mass strip because that's another mail delivery system. I use my email, and everyone on my database is somebody that I have told why they're receiving this communication from me. So here's another trick. And this is, I promised you earlier what Andrew promised, or what Andrew taught me. Andrew taught me that one of your most valuable touches, write this one down. one of your most valuable touches is sharing with somebody in your database why you're reaching out to them. That's one of the most valuable touches. Hey, David, I'm reaching out today. Your name's in my database. I think we connected at this networking event, but I'm reaching out today just to let you know, you've probably seen a monthly email from me come in. That's my monthly newsletter. It has a lot of, I put 3 bullet points of value in that every month. I just wanted to let you know why you're getting that and just ask your, like, is that something you want to continue receiving? That right there is one of the most valuable touches. It's a very personal touch, but what you're doing there, and by the way, that touch, if you haven't guessed already, which bucket would you guess that falls into? David, would you like to continue receiving this? What am I gauging there? His attitude toward it.
Yeah.
That's an attitudinal touch. Nowadays, too, we have social media. Did you know that one of the best attitudinal touches is commenting on somebody's social media post very personally and a little bit more length than just high fives? I use hearts and high fives a lot. If I'm commenting on David's post that he just moved his daughter out of Mississippi State, I'm going to put hearts and high fives, right? And sometimes I'll put a longer comment on somebody that I love post. But when you're working with maybe a prospective referral partner or a prospective client, going in and actually communicating something meaningful in a social context, it's a great attitudinal touch, because whether they reply to you, whether they heart it, you can gauge attitudinal this way. All right. But let's go back to awareness. So newsletter, a video every month, 3 valuable things for this month for the sphere of people I touch in real estate, right? And your referral partners could be on this touch. And you could talk about an education event coming up. You could talk about something fun for July, a recipe David talked about, grandma's favorite oatmeal cookie recipe. And you could talk about something else. Did you know that this just happened? This new loan type's available. And then, hey, reach out, let me know. This is just your drip monthly. Awareness, right? Another awareness touch is new products, new features, new things that you can help with. Did you know I'm now licensed in North Carolina? That's a great valuable touch. Push that out to everybody, right? Awareness. Now, attitude we talked about. I think every month you should look through your database, hot, warm, cold, and determine who is warm and could move to hot, who you can move to hot. And then on those warms, pick every month 30 of your warms in your database, who you've defined as warm, to personally reach out to engage attitude. You can't do it all. You're going to have a lot of warms and you're going to have a ton of colds and you're going to have a good little chunk of hots, but your hot's already hot towards you. They're going to get your awareness drip. You've defined why they're getting that every month. They're going to get that from you and you're going to be touching them. They're going to be calling you. You're going to be in touch with them already. The warms you should go focus on, low-hanging fruit, and then the colds. Try to move some colds to warm, try to move some warms to hot. But you can't do all at once, especially you could do awareness everybody at once a month. Awareness bucket, 4 awareness touches in that bucket, easy. You could hit everybody with a newsletter, an education event. There's so many things to make people aware of. That bucket, it's easy. But the attitudinal bucket, the key here is if you're going to do a 13-touch campaign, you got 4 in the awareness bucket. Here's what we're doing. Here's my monthly drip. Hey, do you know about this education event coming up? Then when you start gauging attitude, you need to get super specific with your database. You need to break that down, because with the attitudinal, you need to zoom in personal. And this is where a lot of people fall down. The awareness touches are taken care of, and it's 4, 3, 2 touches awareness, and they feel like, I've done it. I've done all the work for my database. Nobody's reaching out to me. You've only started. Okay. So now with the awareness, we have to zoom in personal. So David, what would you add before we get to action? Because the call to action is powerful and getting people to take action. There's a lot of touches around that. And we're going to talk about how to get a prospective person to talk to you. But what would you add as far as breaking
I
down
just
the
think
database?
Overarching, again, I'll mention brevity. It's interesting when you were talking, I was thinking, when we leave a voicemail message, we should leave them saying the reason for my call. Yet when we do an email touch or a newsletter, an email, we don't ever go into that, like the reason for that touch, whether it's attitudinal, you have to get very close to the reason into the reason why I'm reaching out. Tim, I'm reaching out I've been sending this, the last few times. Is it of value? Would you, what would be of more value if this isn't, things like that. But, just really, just, have purpose, have reason, have the why. We do it in voicemails, or we should, and all too often it's not done in our um, written touches.
One of the things you said a long time ago to me, David, was disqualify, disqualify, disqualify. Instead of qualify, qualify, qualify,
Yeah.
disqualify, disqualify. And it's funny when you actually taught that, it made a lot of sense to me. It's like, hey, David, help me understand, or hey, David, listen, I think that, I sent out this thing and I'm getting a lot of good feedback. I've not heard from you in a while. I just want to reach out and just, connect those dots, answer any questions. Did anything in the last couple of months speak to you, resonate? Any questions on it? Help me understand where you're at. One of the greatest attitudinal touches, and this is actually starting to lean more into the action bucket, is, hey, David, I've been emailing my newsletter. Is there a different mode that you would like to receive that? Is email, does that still work good for you? Is email good? That's a great touch. You could touch in your database, and what you're doing there is you're actually asking for some action, some feedback back from
Mm-hmm.
them. And that's a little bit less about attitudinal. It's a little bit of attitudinal. It's more about how do they want to continue receiving this from. So anyway, that's another great touch. And right now, people like asking in sales, hey, are you more of a texter? You like to just hang out on social media, or do you still value the old fashioned email? Like, we did that as a value touch, just the whole database, and the people were starting to get responses back. Somebody did a survey recently. Again, a survey is a little bit more of attitudinal and action. So you say, Tim, what's the action bucket? The action is where you're asking somebody to take action. Okay. So here's the deal. If I want to connect with David and I want to have coffee because I saw a loan application come through, or he's in the market, I saw something in a group on Facebook and he's a lead, or wherever I generate a lead from, and David's that lead. Am I going to wait till I have all the awareness and all the attitudinal figured out? No, 100% no. You're a lead. I'm going to ask him for action. But what I am going to do is, in that action, I'm going to get his permission to start building awareness. Now, I'm not going to say, I want to start building awareness with you. But no, I know my end game. I'm planning, and I'm not going to fail to plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out. Hey, David, saw your name come across the thing. You were interested in this. Right now I'm helping home buyers with boom, boom, and boom, save this, that, and that. And I would love to jump on the next couple of, in the next week, one morning that works better for you, for a brief virtual coffee, answer any questions you have, or a brief Zoom, depending on who you're reaching out to. So I'm right there. I'm asking for action. That's an action touch. So that right away goes, that's one touch. Okay. Now crickets happen. Okay. So what do? I stop. No.
Go back to awareness.
My monthly drip's coming out next week. I already know this. My video's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
David is in my lead bucket. He's in my lead. So what I'm going to do is, am I going to be, oh, he didn't have a response? No. I'm going to reach back out. And I'm going to say something like, the blast goes out. David is looped in, and I'm going to, in my database every month, I have highlighted who was added new from any lead gen source, who was added new. And trust me, every month that grows. Every lead gen source funneling in, these are all the new. So when my monthly drip goes out, what I do is I go to my sent folder and I forward it to David as a reply. Hey, David, you probably just saw this land in your inbox, and let me tell you why I sent it to you. I saw you, and I reiterate what my other email that was personal to David said. And it's just, hey, by the way, I would love to meet with you at some point. If your needs are already taken care of by somebody, no pressure, no agenda. I just want to meet you and make sure you are taken care of. But what I've done, and somebody taught me this a long time ago, and you can write this down, it's called defining your presence. You need to define your presence in every new lead's life. Define your presence to them. Okay? Define your presence. Because now as your drip comes out, it's going to have a higher resonance because you defined your presence, or you took the time to personally define why they're now. You know how many times, David, I'll talk to one person, or not one, I'll talk to somebody in any given industry, and I'll talk to them, and then I'll start getting emails from them. And what'll happen is I'll be like, oh, that was odd. Now I'm getting all these marketing emails. And that person I talked to never defined to me that I would start getting those. Now we know through the automations when we sign up online, it says, do you want to receive marketing emails? Or you're going to, by signing in, you're going to opt in. We get that. But I'm talking about in a service sale, real estate. You need to get their agreement, their buy-in. And sometimes you're assuming that buy-in, but you need to tell them, spell out to them, you're receiving this. The other thing I like is I like to use the anti-spam approach of, hey, I don't just send this out to anybody. I thought this would be valuable to you. This is a touch I send once a month with 3 valuable things for people who are looking to either grow equity or wealth in their life with real estate, buy, sell, and anytime, my cell phone's below. You can text me, call me. I'm here. So that, again, very personalized, right? Define your presence. So if you're asking for action, define your presence on the awareness so that the awareness can start backfilling. Every month, every touch, they're starting to get there. And then also have some level of segmentation. If you're calling on an organization and you're talking to salespeople on one aspect of the organization and operational people, you're going to want to have some level of separation. You don't want to just dump all of your stuff on everybody. So that's where you're going to have some, here's a best practice, create some tags within your CRM. So if somebody came to a sales seminar of yours, tag sales seminar. If somebody came to a CLE that you put out there, because you're training attorneys on like continuing ed, put CLE. That way, every new CLE, you can run a report on that tag, and that awareness can go there. Every event you're doing, like today's event on sales, can go to sales seminar tag. So again, 13 touches. David, we're going to run through a litany of lists and some of the abbreviations we used in sales with our gang. And it's going to, but we wanted the science here first. Awareness, attitudinal action, and just backfill every one of those buckets with at least 4. You're already at 12. And then just pick a bogey. Where do you want to add? Where do you think you need to add an extra? Another awareness? I'll tell you, the one that needs added the most is an action. Action is the least dripped on. We drip a lot of awareness. We even do surveys. I think we do an okay job of, oh, they love me. I hear all the time, oh, we're good friends. We have a great relationship. Yeah, but they're using your competitor now. You're in the friend zone. Like, action is asking for the business. Action is do something with me. Get on a Zoom with me. Let's do this. Let's work together. That, I think, is where you need to place the extra bogey touch. But David, what would you add before we move into some of the handwritten notes, brief visit requests, and some of the, brief phone calls, voicemail, social, all the different kinds of touches that we can do to backfill the 13?
Yeah, I thought your last scenario is always the trickiest and intriguing. Somebody that you've known for a long time, that's a friend, but they're not doing business with you. Again, you go right to an attitudinal and action. Hey, I know we're good friends. We play pickleball every week. We've been doing that for 2 years.
Yeah.
Any chance,
What's stopping?
any chance I can help you in your day to day? Those are tricky ones. So again, leaning back in, each scenario probably has a different cadence of, is it an action? Is it awareness? Is it attitudinal?
Yeah. All right, David. So let's start with this. You're a lead. You just landed on my radar, or you didn't even land on my radar through a lead gen. I sought you out. I looked you up. I'm a mortgage banker and you're a real estate agent I really want to meet with. I know you're using the other mortgage company down the road. I see it. You post all the time. You're tagging them and everything. I'm like, they do a lot of volume. I want to break this up. I want to work with them. All right. So let's just run through a litany of what would a 13 touch campaign look like. Okay. So I'm going to start with action. If I want to do business with somebody, I'm going to start with action. But in that action, I'm going to mix some awareness. Okay. And just so you know, these 3 buckets, they can be interchanged, right? You can mix and match. But here's the 13 touch. All right. What's my best step? Here's what I'm going to ask. What's my best foot forward? All right. What's my best foot forward? What I believe in today's environment is we have social media at our fingertips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out. Now, if I want to do business with somebody, I have no qualms about connecting with them on LinkedIn first. I'm going to reach out. That's for me. That might not be for you. You might be a real estate agent, and you might be the first connection is maybe you're reaching out to, or you're a mortgage banker reaching out to a real estate agent, maybe a Facebook because they hang out, or Instagram, a DM there, or a connection there, or follow there. Wherever. I just feel like the social medium is one of the best touches to get a little bit of an attitudinal feel and also an action. Take a first step. So I'm going to reach out with a personalized message, or I'm going to hit connect. and I'm going to send a message. Always send a message with a friend request, or else you're going to cheapen connection. Okay. Remember, better connection, better sales, energy for sales. All right. So better connection, define your presence, reach out. Hey, David, I'm reaching out. Would really like to grab coffee with you at some point. You're crushing it. Love some of what you're doing. A lot of similar, feel like we're cut from the same cloth. Love to just be a resource. And I've got a couple of ideas rolling around my brain. Let's grab coffees. All right. Just be intriguing, reach out. That's why I'm reaching out to you. So number one for me, I'm going to socially connect at some level. I might even go back to social, stalk you next week, and then I might comment on a couple of things. Okay. And I call it, so we joke and call it social stalking. I'm not calling it stalking. What I do mean by that is you're going to social media and using your search bar function, not just scrolling social media and just loving everybody who pops up. No, you're intentionally going into social, finding this person out. So touch number 2 might just be a back touch to social. Touch number 3, though, I'm going to send a bonbon video, very personal. And in the subject line, it's going to say, David, brief visit, question mark. I'm going to say, hey, David. And here's the thing. The beautiful thing about building a sequence is you just keep bringing the context from your last touch into this touch. So, hey, David, hope you saw my LinkedIn connection last week. And again, this touch, if I'm going to really take a 13-step touch with somebody, again, sequencing is all about a rapid cadence so you can really move them into a posture of doing something with you, okay? So I'm going to do this every week or every week and a half. I'm not going to wait 2 weeks or a month, or else you're just warming water. You're not going to get into a boiling point. So, hey, David, hopefully you saw my LinkedIn connection request. I just want to reach out and see if we could grab a brief coffee in the next couple of weeks. What's a morning that works better for you? Let me know. I'd love to set up. I got a couple of ideas I'd love to run by you. Boom, send that out. You say, Tim, do you get a response every time to that? No, don't need it. My third touch is I'm going to resurface that. I'm going to wait a week and a half max, and I'm just going to go to my sent folder, find, search David's name. Again, they're my lead gen. I'm working them hot and heavy this month, 30 people, and I'm going to resurface. Hey, David, just resurface in the below thoughts, question mark. That's it. Next week, I'm going to call you on the phone. I never have a cold call because I'm calling you based on some context. I've already connected socially. Here's the funny thing. By this time, I'm usually seeing a connection request come through from somebody. It's amazing how it works. So it starts backfilling. Phone call goes to voicemail. I'll leave a brief voicemail. Hey, David, just calling you in regard to my email I sent you. Give me a buzz back when you get 3 minutes of windshield time. There's a trick here, too. Psychologically, I'm letting him know I'm not talkative, Tim. I'm not going to take an hour of his time. I'm going to be brief. Call me back when you have 3 minutes of windshield time. And what am I going to do in 3 minutes, guys? What am I asking for this whole time? It's the same call to action. I want a brief Zoom call, a brief virtual coffee, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever I asked for in the first. So my phone call is not replacing my Zoom call. It's 3 minutes. I'm going to share one idea or two that I'm helping David with, right? The Davids in my life who looks like him, I'm helping them with. Is that interesting to you? Let's jump on a Zoom call. 3 minutes on a phone call. Then the next week, I'm going to call again. But this call looks a little different. Hey, David, hopefully you got my voicemail last week. I'm going to text you as well in case that's easier for you. What am I doing here? So I'm going to text you my number when I hang up here. Just give me a text back when you get some time, some windshield time. I would love to talk to you. Same thing, but what am I doing? I'm promising him a text. So now my 7th touch is a text message. But that'll come very short. Right after my voicemail, I send the text. Hey, David, per my voicemail, here's my cell phone. What am I gauging here? I'm taking an omni-channel approach. I'm gauging whether David might be a texter and not an emailer, a texter and not a social media person, right? So I'm taking an omni-channel approach. By this time, if I'm still getting crickets, guys, I start resorting to a handwritten note or putting a book in the mail, a book that, by the way, you can grab any book that would help anybody else in this real estate industry, or even a home buyer, a wealth building book on real estate. You could even put that in the mail to a home buyer with a handwritten note. It'll cost you $4 on Amazon. And it's a handwritten note. Rarely has anybody gone past touch number 8 with a handwritten note or a book in the mail and not called me back. Rarely. But at this moment in time, you can start connecting the dots. You have a webinar. By this point in time, you've already gone, what are we at? 8? You've gone 8 weeks. You have 2 awareness touches, 2 drips. So one of your touches now can be defining that drip to them. Hey, David, been trying to get in touch. Hopefully you saw this. The reason I added you to this is boom. So now you're just defining some of your awareness. Now, after 13 touches, if David is not responding back to me, somewhere in there, I'm going to find an event David's at, an open house, a broker's open, a networking somewhere, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to make a beeline for David at this event. And every event I go to, you guys know this from Todd's recording. Go watch the networking recording. But always walk in with three. Go to events where your prospects are hanging out, and go in with three people, top of your mind, that you're going to go connect with. And I love it when they look at me a little sheepishly, and I walk up. I'm like, hey man, I know you're trying to connect with like a lot of people. I don't want to take any time. But man, like when can we get together? Dude, then they see you. They're like, oh, this guy's not threatening. He's kind of fun. Boom, done. So by 10th touch, I'm going to go to where they're at. Okay. So does this make sense? You have a brief visit request, handwritten note. You got a brief phone call, voicemail. You got a social touch. You could resurface something on social. You may have a podcast you're listening to. Forward it to them through a social channel. Hey, man, I heard this. What are your thoughts? You might listen to a podcast they were on. Listen to that podcast and write them a personal note. Hey, what you said, and quote them. That was awesome. I'm using that, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. That 13 touches then. So just plan out, what do we ask for this whole time? We just want to get together. We just want to have coffee. Because until I get vocals exchanged and face-to-face with David, I don't know. I don't know what's important to David. So my action bucket is packed. But I can pull out of the awareness bucket into the action bucket. I can, all the whole time I'm taking attitudinal. I'm sending him a text message. Maybe he's a texter. I'm going on social. I'm commenting, taking some attitudinal. I'm sensing if is he picking up what I'm putting down. If I do a webinar, I'm looking. I connected the dots. Hey, David, I thought you would love this webinar. And then they join the webinar. Bam, leaned in. I'm going to call right after the webinar. Thanks for being on the webinar. Or within the next couple of days. Don't be creepy, like right after. No, just wait a couple of days. Hey, thanks so much for joining the webinar. What'd you get out of it? Hey, when can we jump on Zoom? Okay. If they're important to you, if they're in your database, reach out. Now, your campaign for somebody cold in your database may look totally different, right? Hey, David, I'm reaching out. Your name is in my database. I think we met here. Would love to, like, do you have any questions around real estate? Like, where are you at with real estate right now? You could do a whole different kind of campaign, but I think that's also low-hanging fruit. You can have some fun with the colds, figure out where they're at. But again, keep it superhuman. David, I'm done. Those are, again, 0 to 13, like kind of just
there you go.
Spell and go. What would you add before? I know you got to jump, and Andrew's going to be joining here shortly. What would you add there, brother?
I think, sitting back, if you've not done this before, you're probably thinking, well, what do I send? How do I send it? And I think in time, you will learn the best approach. What I love about sequences, if you have an automation around it, you have to come up with everything on the front end. Your hard work is done on the front end. Now you can adjust it later. You can have other types of sequences later. But I think that, if you feel a little stuck, Tim has given some really good examples. I think that, a series of emails followed up by phone calls make for a nice warm touch. But if you're sitting back saying, I don't know what those 13 touches should be, think of what you respond to. Think of those clients that you have, what they respond to. And it's not hard. And I love having the buckets of awareness, attitudinal, to really understand where someone is along the path. And if you need some help, reach out to Tim and Andrew. Andrew, it's been a while. Looking good, man.
Hey, David. Hey, everybody. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you
Haircut's
as
always
well.
on point. Haircut's always on.
I love it.
Broski's got the hair for sure. Yeah, Andrew, it's good to have you on. David, spot on. I know we covered a lot of ground, and again, a lot of more the science behind the touch. But if you think about it, your prospect is the only one who can anoint your touch valuable. But you might not know what that anointing is until they actually respond. So you need to think in their terms, build it to the best of your ability. Don't overthink it. And then wherever, if and when in doubt, go brief. Brief is better. Less is more. Okay. And be very clear with what you're asking. What are you asking? Just be very clear and say in human speak. So Andrew, I know you've been listening the whole time. Would you add anything before we boot David and talk about Accelerate?
You guys said it. I think the consumer lens is what you're saying geared towards you, or is what you're saying geared to get their ears to perk up? Is it something that would resonate with you if someone was reaching out for you to do the same thing? I think you can't go wrong being radically consumer lensed when it comes to your outreach, especially with a prospect. Why would they want to respond to you? And if you can answer that question right to the point directly in your outreach, chances are you're going to land more visits than not. And the other piece would be don't give up too soon. I'm guilty of that too. David never reaches up. Sometimes I ghost his texts 4 times and he just keeps reaching out. So don't give up too soon. I kid a little bit, David. I don't do like that, but we should never give up in our outreach.
No, I think that's a great point, because it's tough. I mean, going after net new business is not easy, and we can't give up, because just think, it's like being in the gym. If we're going to be in a big prize fight, the moment we give up, we have to understand that our competitor that we're going to be in the ring with is not giving up, and we need to be prepared for that. Our competitors are not giving up, so we have to be as relentless. Teflon, let it slide right off. Again, I never leave a voicemail expecting to get a voicemail back, because I'm setting it up. I'm letting them know what's next, and we just keep rolling. One of the things, Tim, when we were talking early on, especially those that we don't know how they entered or what they might be interested in yet, asking for permission or letting them know what would be next for them. It's kind of like the sales process, laying out the entire sales process. Hey, over the period of the next couple months, you'll see different touches from me. If something resonates, let me know, and let's get a phone call and discuss it.
Yeah, especially so David, before we let you go, why don't you share? So 13 touches, you're still getting nothing, no traction. Here's real quick why I'm going to ask this question is, most people know that salespeople quit after about 3 to 5 touches. Did you know only 10% of salespeople persevere past 10 touch, past 5 touches? Crazy. And that's where most sales happen. So 10% of salespeople get the sale because they persevere. Okay. With that in mind, I think what's happened, it's not your fault on this call, but it's all of our problem, is prospective clients that you're calling on, they've learned that if I can ghost them long enough, if I can hold out long enough, they will go away. So one of the things you don't want to do is get to the end of 13 and be like, okay, I'm still getting no response. I better just stop. I'm to the end of 13. They didn't do anything. And neither do you want to just keep hammering the 20, 25, 30. Tim, what you're going to do is go ahead.
I want to, I think the easy answer is, if they're not responding after X amount of touches, what we're saying is probably not resonating. And so that's where I would go back to the drawing board with what value are you bringing? And that's something that, has come up quite often in the coaching we're doing. Is like, okay, like, what are you bringing to them that's more than just, it'd be great for you to know me and me to potentially work with you? And so I think all of us, we have to answer that question first and foremost as we're crafting our sequence. Like, what is your defining value to that particular partner that's going to make a positive impact in their life when they connect with you and when they get to know you? And most of the time, the clearer you get on that, the less touches it takes for you to at least start a conversation.
Bam.
And to go deeper on value topics, you're only going to continue conversations because you are becoming a value-added partner to them.
So Andrew, I love this. So say you went back to the drawing board and you feel like you are value and you are at 13 and they're still not picking up. David, at that point, how do you disengage and let them know?
I always, if I'm not going to chase you anymore, I'm going to let you know that I'm not chasing you anymore. An email, very simple to now, it's now not the right time, or you're not the correct stakeholder. Now I'm not going to stop. I might move them into a different sequence. I'm not going to necessarily let them know that, but I'm going to let them know that I'm not just somebody that just went away, that I, by plan as a professional, am going to stop chasing you. And I think what Andrew just said, which is spot on, because I've not used that. Maybe my messaging hasn't been what it needed to be. Like, are you not the right person? Is this not the right time? Have my messages really not resonated? Now, granted, not the right stakeholder, not the right time, those things help, but I've not gone even bolder to say, maybe my stuff wasn't good enough to get your attention. And maybe just saying it that way
That's a
Yeah.
powerful attitudinal touch, guys. What Andrew
Yeah.
just said, and you write down. And David, to your point, though, I think another attitudinal touch, though, is let them know I'm stopping. So I've done this where, hey, Andrew, I've tried. Like, I want to connect with you. I feel there's a good fit here. However, I know timing is everything. So what I'll reach back out in October. So I'm gonna give myself like maybe 3 months or 6 months. I'm gonna pick. I'll reach back out in October. Maybe that'll be a better time. But until then, expect to hear from me once a month. I send out a resource newsletter, very personalized. You'll hear from me once a month. Is that okay? And I might end with a question. And then they might never respond, but they're going to get that from me once a month. And then I'm going to pick back. I'm going to put it in the CRM, pick back up in October, and I'm going to start a new sequence. And by then, maybe I've learned some things from the market. Maybe I have learned how to crack some hard cases because this was important. Or, oh, wow, he's in this bucket of a client. That's important to him. You know, Bitcoin and NFTs and all that's important to him, not this like whatever. So you might just a whole different campaign. So David, Andrew, great stuff. And David, I know you got to jump. You bring so much value to this group, and David, I just want to say again, thank you for doing this monthly. This is a complete give back for you, but I know you love handing the sales baton to up and coming sales professionals, guys. Any way possible, whether that's emailing us, whether that's commenting on a YouTube recording, send your questions in anytime. David and I, we bring these topics based on the questions we get. So thank you for doing that throughout the month. But David,
hey, you're welcome. My pleasure. And
good to see you, David.
Being able to see Andrew is worth all of it.
It always is.
It always is. You're looking good. Y'all take care.
Good to see you.
Thanks, David. Andrew, man, I'm excited. We have an amazing opportunity, and I can't wait. Thanks for joining and talking about this with me. But why don't you share about Accelerate real quick though? If you're on a laptop or you're not driving, or you're in your office or pulled over, type in Agent Growth Con. Agent Growth Con, like conference.com. agentgrowthcon.com. Okay. Our buddies over at Top Shot Pro, Michael Rivero, Josh McQuaid, are partnered with Andrew and I, and we're bringing this Accelerate event in October. Andrew, like, why? Why are we doing this?
Well, I'm going to drop the link in the chat for y'all, so you don't have to try to type it.
Fantastic.
In case you are driving, you can check it out later. But no, so yeah, we came out of, I think this was a brainchild coming out of Energize, which we did with Fidelity here in the Mid-Atlantic for our title agents and title sales folks, and many of you were there, and great feedback. And as we've gone throughout the year, Tim, you and I have come in alongside a lot of folks, and Michael and the team over at Top Shot Pro have come in along a lot of our agents, but also real estate agents. And a common theme was, why don't we do something similar for our real estate agents? And some companies have tried to do this one-off with smaller events or half-day events, et cetera, and those have gone very well, to the point that when we're talking about it, we do believe that in the real estate space, in the real estate industry, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of things that real estate agents and loan officers want to do, and there are certain roadblocks, either skill issues or will issues, that keep people from activating on things that will absolutely move their business forward. So being that you and I coach a lot in the real estate and loan officer space, and Michael and the team there, we wanted to assemble a lineup of speakers and folks who bring very practical workshop style approach to real estate agents and lenders who work with our title companies, who work with us across the footprint. So that was kind of the brainchild of Accelerate. So we're excited to bring this conference October 1st and 2nd for these folks, really geared in and focused on execution, doing, not trying, not thinking about something and taking a bunch of notes and just getting motivated. Because every time I talk to real estate folks, it's like, yeah, I went to this great event and I got super motivated and I took a ton of notes and I wrote a lot of stuff down. My question is always, out of the 5 things you wrote down, how many of those have you actually done in your business? And most of the time, unfortunately, the answer is, I haven't done it yet, for whatever reason that it is. So that's my overview. I'm very excited. Tim, like, we're talking about it now. We're starting to promote. So what should folks know about it now?
Yeah, we sent say the date out, soft launch, but I mean it's in full pursuit 70 days out. It's limited seating, so I mean it's gonna fill up fast. I'm not too worried there. But I want the right people in the room, right, Andrew? I feel like we've done so many events alongside of our title agent partners, and we hear mortgage bankers come up to us, and we hear real estate agents come up to us and say, "I was at a 4-day event or a 3-day event down in Atlanta. I paid all this money, and I got more out of half a day with you guys." And the reason being, we're very practical. We're going to crack a laptop. For instance, I love giving the training David and I just gave. Love it. I mean, I could talk sales all day long. But what I know the reality is only 2% of people listening will actually go take their database, dump it into Excel, and go into a column and put H, W, and C. And we're not talking about water closet here. We're talking hot, warm, cold. And then sort it and then act accordingly with a campaign. But when we're together in the room and we get people to actually do that, open their laptop, dump it in, and they're like, wait, how do you do this? Oh, I haven't used Excel in a little while. We've heard it all. And we come around the laptop and here, click here, do this, that. And then Andrew, with your AI training, oh my word. When people walk out saying, you just handed me 2-3 employees to offload so much stuff so I can go focus on what matters most because of your strategic brand marketing, brand creation, and content completely, front loading your content and, your sales assistant, your marketing assistant, all the things you teach in AI. And people walk out like literally having seen on your phone screen how you do it. I think that's the value because I just don't want to leave anything to
Well,
guess.
yeah, and we talked
Or
about, we talked about not only, there's a lot of value in things that are continuing to evolve with AI and obviously sales and what you and I kind of bring, but we wanted to also do this with the guys at Top Shot because we believe in their methodology around content, which is content with a purpose. And so for real estate agents that need to maybe they're already making great content, but there's really no specific strategy behind the content they're making. Like, how is that content taking them from not having a client to getting a client into their lead, convert into their database, right? So then Tim's going to talk about some of the ways to now, once that lead is in your database, so how do you convert with sales? And then we're going to use AI throughout to train on practical steps to nurture, touch, not only to get leads into your database, but when you're working your sequences, what are some other strategic touches? What are some other ways to leverage AI to streamline? So we're really kind of bringing the things we've loved to talk about, Tim, but partnering with a lot of speakers and trainers who aren't just going to talk about, I'm a top realtor, because we got some great realtors coming out to speak.
right.
We do not want any realtors saying, I'm just a top realtor and I don't know, I just got lucky or whatever, because we've all been to those panels where there's really no value. It's kind of just let me toot my own horn for a few minutes. So we're really being super practical with who we're bringing. Can they bring value and steps? And like Tim said, share their phone screen, share their playbook a little bit. And they're open-minded and big-minded enough to share that with the community, knowing that a rising tide does raise all ships. And so that's the idea of Accelerate. It's all about taking action. It's all about the people that are bringing practical steps from content creation to creating leads, to then how do we convert leads, and where does AI kind of fit into this whole crazy mix?
Right.
And what should we be AI for? What should we not? And then, by the way, crack the laptop, crack the phone. Here's how you do it. Let's remove the skill issues of like, I don't know how to get logged in, right? Which let's be honest, a lot of us face with certain tools out there. I don't know how to even get this thing rolling for me. Well, here's how you get it rolling for you. So it gets me excited because it's all about execution. That's my favorite word. It's all about doing.
Go execute, baby.
So, I mean, it's going to be great. You guys will definitely want to promote this out to your real estate agents. And again, think about those that you're trying to earn more business from. Could you bring a group with you and really help be a catalyst in their business? Be someone who's not coming alongside them to learn. And then as you're learning, you're helping to spearhead and quarterback those takeaways, the things we're all going to continue to work on together. That's how you become a strategic partner to your real estate agents and your loan officers.
Yes.
So for all of you, it's an opportunity to kind of elevate your game, learn some things yourself, but bring folks and be a catalyst to your real estate agents and lenders on some of the things they really want to accomplish in their business.
Andrew, to your point of acceleration, listen, I'm in my virtual office. I'm pointing at a brick wall. If I step on the gas right now, I'm wrecking the vehicle, right? And airbag in the face. I feel like in our businesses, sometimes we don't know, are we actually pointing in the right direction? Okay. Are we pointing in the right direction? There's so much noise out there. There's so many technologies, so much AI. There's so many marketing things. There's so much, I got to do this, that, and the other. What actually works? You have to start with you. What are you trying to accomplish? What's your brand voice? What are you pulling people into? What are you building long-term? And then what does that look like? What's better connection look like for you? But Andrew said it. There's sometimes a skill problem and a will problem. We're going to target both because it's all about accelerating. Do, not try. This is all about doing, but you have to be pointing in the right direction. And we want you to accelerate into the winter months and into 2025, your business, with less, giving yourself permission to say no to things. Because right now, 20% of what we're doing is actually necessary for our business. 80% is not. We're going to get super clear on that 20%. Now, if you're on this call today, you're a real estate agent, a mortgage banker, or a title agency salesperson, okay? So how does this fit for everybody on the call? A lot of you guys have been at one of our events. Mortgage banker, real estate agents, you've heard us. You've been at an event. This is deeper level. This is next level. Go deeper with us for 2 days, okay? But some of you on here, I know some of you in the mortgage space on here, I've coached your team. You're a team leader. So send this link out to your team and have your team come up to Northern Virginia for 2 days, all right? If you're a real estate agent, I know I just talked to one of y'all. Thanks for joining today. You're in Richmond. You're driving up. Bring some of your team. You might be recruiting right now. Use this as an opportunity. Like Andrew said, hey, join me. Come up here. I have your best interest in mind. This event is going to be great. Come up with me, right? Use it. If you're a title agency folk, you're a title agent on this call, you are in a distinct position because these guys, Top Shop Pro, said, hey, Andrew, Tim, we understand, like, you work exclusive with Fidelity. Like, you're bringing all this sales to the channel, the trifecta of, title, mortgage, and real estate. We want to make this super easy for your title agents to promote and to get out. So what do? Here's the big reveal, guys. Fidelity Agent Success. Write that down. Fidelity Agent Success. All one word, all together. Fidelity Agent Success. So when you land on the website, Andrew, this is like the worst I've ever done at selling from stage, but here we go. When you land on the website, Fidelity Agent Success, just because you're on this call and or partnered with a Fidelity agent, that's going to give you half off, which is insane. Andrew, like when you're coaching one-on-one, you charge well more than that just for an hour. But Fidelity Agent Success, 2-day workshop for like $250. These guys at Top Shop Pro are committed to us. They showed up at Energize. They're showing up again. They could have charged a whole lot more to us for this, but they've discounted 50% for our Fidelity channel partners. So if you're a title agent on here, push this thing out. We're going to send out a graphic this week to you guys. We're going to send out a script you can use and also the link and the promo code. So get this out to your real estate agents, your mortgage bankers. And if you're partnered up with us already and you're on this call, you're in the real estate or mortgage banking space, be there. Andrew and I would love to have you. And it's going to be super practical. So
stay tuned.
Thank you for letting us bend your ear.
Yep. And stay tuned for drips out from us on these events and some sneak peeks and things of that nature. Go check out Agent Growth Con. Share this out. Again, be the catalyst in your group. Tim, I love that you said it. If you're a loan officer, a realtor, or a mortgage or a title professional on the call, be the catalyst in your group to get people executing. That's where strong collaboration and growth truly happens in this industry. It's not about being alone or figuring it out all on your own. Chances are you'll try and it won't work out very well, and you'll spend a lot of money you wish you hadn't spent on the tech that you really didn't need. So well worth it. We can't wait to see you guys there. Tim, thanks for having me join you for the last few minutes.
Hey, thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I'll see you on the other side. You guys take care. Send us any questions you have. Reach out. We're looking forward to hearing from you and working with you this month.
See y'all.